to the Quick Talk Podcast with Joshua Latimer, where we discuss business, life, family, faith, struggle, fire, pain, and ultimately winning.
It's time to take massive action. Look, I can't work harder on your life or business than you do. It's ultimately all on you.
You know, God created all the food the birds would ever need, but he doesn't put it in their nest. You've got to go get it.
10 out of 10 people die. So how about doing something today that actually matters while you still can? Hey everybody, welcome to the Quick Talk Podcast. This is Joshua Latimer coming to you from beautiful sunny Michigan. We are all in the midst of the fire right now, and it is the busiest time of year for many people listening to this podcast. And I had a really cool question asked of me on Facebook by my buddy George. And he posted on my wall and he said, Josh, can you start a conversation about the transition specifically from the field to really working on the business? So his question is, how do you transition from being the guy doing a lot of the work, you're constantly in the field, to getting out of that? And not just how do you get out of that, what does it feel like from the employee's perspective and really from your customer's perspective? And this is a really good question for a lot of reasons. Number one, everybody wants to know how to do this if you haven't done it yet. And number two, there are weird nuances when you have been the face of your company with your customers and you're side by side with your employees, and then you try to pull back from that. There can be some friction, there can be some obstacles, and really, George is getting ready to go through that himself. So I'm pleased to welcome George Figueroa. Oh, it's close. I think I might have got it. How are you, George?
I'm doing good.
So where are you at, and how long have you been in business? And give us just a brief backstory on what services you offer and what's going on in your business.
Okay. Been in business since 2010. I'm out here in Rockwall, Texas, just a little bit outside of Dallas. I started, I guess, like a lot of people, doing landscape and lawn work, just mowing yards, really, the beginning. And from there, it's kind of grown. I had a full-time job when I first started, passed up on a position and decided to take things into my own hands and really put a lot of effort into my business. So I did, and it took me 3 years to build up a good clientele to where I could leave my job, and actually left my job last year. So it's been really busy. I've been really blessed, and now I have a great crew. So I'm trying to work on the transition of being on the crew to being behind the scenes now, and so that's my whole question, was how to do this and not feel so guilty either, you know, when the guys are doing the physical work and you're over here doing all this other stuff.
Well, it's a really good question that a lot of people have. And one of the things I found really interesting when me and you had talked a few days ago in preparation for this interview was that you get up at 4:30 in the morning right now. You go to the gym, you start your day super early, you work your guts out all day in the Texas heat, which is no joke, by the way. Texas is a different level of hot, man, I'll tell you. And then you get home and you eat dinner. I believe you have children. You do that briefly, and then you're back to doing paperwork and on the phone, and you're working until basically 11 or 12 at night. And that's kind of been your current situation this year, right? Because you've been so busy. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, it's been super busy this year. I mean, you know, I have great customers and they like to tell everybody about me, so it helps, but sometimes it's a little chaotic.
Yeah. Well, you're going through a natural transition, and honestly, it's a good thing that you're reaching your breaking point, because what you want to do when you transition from different levels in the business is you really need to do it from the position that you're in now, where you are maxed out, you're starting to redline, and really, believe it or not, you're in a position of strength right now, and we need to pivot to level 2. So I teach that there are 5 stages of business growth, and step 1 or stage 1 is when you're primarily in the field, and that's where you are now. Now, I totally understand you do everything else on top of it, but the bulk of your working hours are in the field, making customers happy and doing physical work. Now, to get to stage 2, that's where the bulk of your time will be spent in the office. It's when you're going to start building real systems. It's when you're going to become a real leader rather than just a manager in the field. And that's a tricky transition, and that's what we're going to talk about on this episode. Stage 3 is where you're primarily selling. It's where you're driving around in a clean shirt, you're making contacts, you're networking, you're quoting things, you're closing deals, and you're scheduling business and driving sales through your company. Stage 4 is where you become the general manager. And when you become a general manager or an operations manager or whatever label you want, that's when you have a sales manager and you have an office manager and you have crew leaders, right? And you're kind of overseeing all of those things. And then stage 5 is really the ultimate goal, at least it was for me, when you're the business owner. Because the first 4 stages that I talk about, the business can still explode if something happens to you. And it gets better as you go, but it's risky because if you got hurt or something, it's not really a business unless you can leave for a month and generate, sufficient personal income while you're gone and then come back and nothing broke. Everything was okay. In fact, the business grew. We won't get into all of that other stuff. We're going to focus on getting from step 1 to step 2. But just as words of encouragement to you, George, the fact that you're putting in the work, you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning and you're doing what it takes and you're not collapsing under that pressure is a very, very good sign. And the other good sign is that people love you and they love your company, and we can work with that. So I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm going to provide some very specific and good answers. Do you have any words of wisdom or encouragement for people who feel like they're in a similar position as you?
Man, you know what? What I did is I have a goal that there's actually one thing that I really, really want. Of course, I want to have a great business, but I've always wanted a Porsche. So that's my goal. And when I'm tired and stuff, it's kind of funny. Like when I'm tired, I feel like quitting sometimes. You get discouraged. I actually will see a car around town, and I'm like, all right, that's what I'm working for. Even though I might not even ever buy the thing, I tell my wife it's like my unicorn. But, it encourages me when I see one, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to keep going. It's not that bad. So
well,
little things like that.
I think really that's a really good insight because you stumbled upon one of the biggest problems people have where they can never grow their business, and it's that they have a lack of vision. They have a lack of clarity on what they want. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying that you want a Porsche, because really the Porsche represents more than a car. It represents this idea that you've won, that you've attained something you thought was impossible previously. And if you don't have something to focus on like that, I can tell you right now, it's impossible to scale up through the different levels in business. So whether it's a Porsche or whether it's a house or it's being debt free or it's paying off your student loan, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what it is. You got to have something that makes your stomach kind of turn when you see it because you want it so bad. That's kind of step 1. So that's really good. I'm going to spend some time going through some points here, George. I appreciate you asking the question. A lot of other people have the same one. Thank you for your time. Thanks for initiating this conversation.
All right. Thank you.
So let's dig into this a little bit, guys. This is such a profound question because people are so scared to make this transition. They don't know where to start. Well, step 1 for me, just to get right into the bullet points that you can apply to your business, is I believe you need to be in a position of momentum when you make this pivot, okay? Sometimes people over-systemize or over-transition in their business too quickly, and they don't have the cash flow or the runway, as I like to call it, to support it. Okay, so depending on how much personal cash you need to suck out of your business to survive on is a huge factor on how quickly we can do this, or if we can even do it. If you have a lot of debt, if you have massive burden financially, and you require a high salary out of your little business, that is a recipe to get stuck for a very long time. Because the fact of the matter is, to scale a business is very expensive. It costs a lot of money to do it. Not just capital investments, and what that is buying equipment and long-term assets that you need to use to operate your business. There's that. But then there's also customer acquisition. And every level that you scale up to requires a bigger foundation of customers to support all the mouths that you're trying to feed, including your own. So if you don't have enough wiggle room to pivot through these different transitions, it makes it a lot more difficult. So the first word of encouragement is to take as little pay as you can possibly afford to take in the first few seasons of your business. Pay yourself a small salary for as long as you can. It's really a delayed gratification type thing. If you've heard my podcast before, I talk about the marshmallow experiment between these kids, right? So they take a kid and they put them in a room and they put two marshmallows on a table in front of them. Or wait, maybe it was one marshmallow. And they tell them, if you don't eat this marshmallow for like 5 minutes, maybe it was 10 minutes, if you just wait 5 minutes, we're going to give you 2 marshmallows. And then they leave the room, and there's a hidden camera. And they stare at these kids, right? And the kids start out strong for the first minute, and then they're just staring at this marshmallow. They just start licking their lips. They can't resist. They lose control, and most of the kids eat the marshmallow because they just can't take it anymore, man. Well, that's what we do as business owners. You can't take it anymore. You're sick of struggling. You want to have the signs of success. And even working in the field in stage 1 by yourself, you can make some money. No doubt about it, you can make money. But what a lot of people fail to realize is that money is not yours if you want to build a company. It's the company's money. So you got to get a handle on this stuff. And whether it's your spouse working a little harder to help during the first season or 2 while you're going to get this transition going, whether it's reducing your expenses, getting rid of cable, whether it's, getting, cheaper car insurance or downgrading your vehicles, whatever you have to do to put yourself in a position where you can live on little tiny amounts of money right now so that later you can have more money that doesn't require you to be a slave to get it. If you're willing to do that, this will work a lot quicker. Right? So getting your own mindset and mentality right around the money is step number 1. Now let's go back to talk about the momentum. So what you want to do is you want to hire people, right? But you don't want to hire them too early. So if you're only booked 1 week out, or you only have a half a week worth of work, or you're just kind of like going day to day and hopefully the phone rings and you do the jobs and the phone rings, you do the jobs, that's not an appropriate time to transition from stage 1 of being in the field to stage 2 being in the office. That is, unless you have tens of thousands of dollars in cash reserves and you know what you're doing. A lot of people that start a business think that working 40 or 50 or 60 hours a week is a lot. No, it's not. It's not a lot, okay? Working 100 hours a week is a lot, but still, you got to be willing to do it, at least for in the beginning. Now, George is a great example, okay? He gets up at 4:30 in the morning, he works till 11 or 12 at night every single day. Okay? And what he's done by working so hard is he's created momentum. And how do you create momentum? By working your guts out. And when you're in the field, you got to do all the work, right? Well, guess what? You have another full-time job, and that's drumming up business, doing sales, generating, referrals, kissing babies and shaking hands and networking and building your brand and networking in your community. So you just have to do both. You have to do both to create the initial momentum. Now, a good sign when you're reaching that momentum peak is when you're booked 2 or 3 or 4 weeks out and where you literally feel like you're about to break. Just got to hold on a little while longer. And now we can begin the conversation of how to transition. So now that we're ready, we have momentum. You can pay yourself as small a paycheck as possible. Let's talk about how to do this. Well, it starts, number 1, with vision. And you heard George talk about a Porsche. Now, a Porsche might seem silly to you, or maybe you don't want one. That doesn't matter. George really wants one. And if he doesn't have something to focus on, to hone in on, then he's not going to have the fortitude to push through for this. So when you're having a dark day, it's that vision that keeps you going. When things get really tough, it's that vision of a better future for yourself that'll keep you going. And making these transitions is difficult. In fact, this morning when I woke up, someone had sent me a really long message and was just talking about how business is so hard, and he listens to the podcast and he's so thankful for all the resources and stuff that I've put out. But he said, it's just so hard, Josh. And I just, my stomach dropped because you know what? He's right. It is hard. But why do we need to be afraid of it being hard? I acknowledge that it's hard, and it's true that it's hard. But if you can just accept the fact that, hey, it's going to be hard for a little while, but then everything in my life can change. I can change my whole family tree. But it's that vision, man. It's the vision. Dave Ramsey says, if you'll live like no one else today, then later you can live like no one else. right? And that's what it takes. There's no free lunch. You don't get a free cookie. This stuff doesn't magically happen. It's the result of your own sheer massive action and effort. You have to go straight beast mode for a while. You just do. And if you don't, you're going to have one of these 15-year-old companies that does $100,000, and yeah, you got a paycheck, but if you get hurt, it's over. If you want to sell it, it's worth next to nothing. It's not a real asset. You're going to get stuck. You're going to put a ceiling on your own earnings. Okay, that rant's over. So what you want to do when you have the vision and you're ready to do this is it starts with vision and then it transitions to communication. You have to take the vision that's inside your own head and you have to transfer that to the people around you, namely your employees. Now, your employees might have a hard time understanding why they have to do even more work for a while you quote unquote go work in the office. The problem with this transition is a lack of communication for most people. You have to translate your vision to your employees in a way that relates to them. So you don't go to your employees and say, guys, listen, I got to get out of the field. I got to work in the office so I can buy a Porsche. Don't say that. Okay. That's private. That's private. You don't overshare everything. But when I say share your vision, share the vision of the company. You need to bring them in and give them what I call a seat at the table. Literally, if you have to schedule a day of work off to do this, it's worth it. Schedule it off, bring people in one-on-one, and then after you've met with everybody one-on-one, have a group meeting and lay down the foundational vision for your company. Say, listen, there's a lot of lawn care companies in the United States. There's a lot of lawn care companies in this town. But we're going to be different. And here's what I see happening over the next few years. I want to build a machine. I want to build a unique family company that is different and weird in a good way in every category. I need you to be part of my future executive leadership team. I need leaders around me to help me build and create this vision. And I want you to make more pay. I want you to have benefits one day. I want you to be able to have paid time vacation off. I want you to be able to have a company car and a company cell phone, whatever the vision is. Help bring them into this picture of what is possible and what could be. And whatever's important to them, tie it with it. If they have credit card debt they need to pay off, say, I want to help you get the credit card debt paid off. If they have a student loan, I'm going to help you get rid of that student loan. If they never graduated high school and they feel like crap about themselves and they're skeptical and don't trust people, say, look, I want to show you that there are good people that will invest in you. And you're going to work your butt off for us, but in return, I'm going to help you get your GED and I'm going to help you turn your life around. I'm going to help get you a leadership position with more money than you ever thought you'd make in this company. That's what has to happen. So you have the money, you have the momentum that you created by working your guts out, and then you're going to get the vision internally and personally at an intimate level for yourself. Then you're going to communicate the company vision and give your employees a seat at the table and lay down the law on things are going to change. This is not a normal company. And then you're going to start coaching and teaching them as a group on how we're going to do this. You can teach them about the 5 levels of business ownership. I used to literally do meetings with my entire company, and I would draw a triangle on the whiteboard. No, not because I'm in the Illuminati, okay? That's evil, okay? All I'm saying is the triangle was a really cool representation. And obviously you're the owner, so you're kind of at like the top of the pyramid, right? And so sometimes people think that's bad. Well, I tell them that's not bad. It's not bad at all. And here's why. As I widen the base of the pyramid, which is your customer base, we need to go from 200 customers to 2,000 customers to 10,000 customers. As I widen that, what happens to the pyramid? What happens is there's a huge empty space in the middle. And that space in the middle is the future opportunity for people who want to lead in your company. And it's your job to cast this vision to them. And you got to help them understand that by getting you out of the field, they're freeing you up to build the foundation wider. And as you are allowed to build the business, then more opportunity is unlocked for them. If you're trapped in the field with them, you have a ceiling. There's only so much capacity and revenue that you can do. And you can't have middle managers. And you can't have operations managers and sales managers and other opportunities, right? You can't have salaried leadership positions in your company someday. And if you just talk to people, they're going to get it. Trust me, they're going to get it. And not only will they get it, they're going to get excited about it. The other thing that goes along with communication is that it can't be a one-time communication. It's an ongoing conversation. And I believe it's okay to tell people this isn't going to be perfect. There's going to be times when it's messy. I don't have all the answers, but I do have the vision and I will not stop until I achieve this. And if you ever become negative or a cancer or you hold the company back, unfortunately, We're going to have to remove you from the company because we're not going to let this company have cancer. But on the other hand, if you're willing to be positive and to be a problem solver and to offer solutions, then the future is unlimited for you, and I want you to work with me, not for me. So I'm big on that cheesy, stuff because it's real, it's powerful, especially young people that want to be caught up in something. So let's recap. Create the momentum by working your guts out. Get yourself some runway of 2, 3, 4 weeks booked out. Then you're going to take your current team members and you're going to say, look, guys, everything's about to change. Your whole reality is going to turn upside down. I'm going to pivot out of the field. And that means more responsibilities required from you. And here's why we're going to do it. This is who we are as a company. This is where we're going. This is what's in it for you when we get there, right? You're doing all that. And then your ongoing conversation, you're having the ongoing conversation every week with these people regarding that. Now, let's talk about some of the nuances. So your customers love you, and they're going to start asking questions. Well, where's George? Where's George? I want George to do my landscaping, right? That's inevitable. It happened with me, and it happens with everybody that does this. Why? Because you're freaking awesome at what you do, and your customers love you. And all it is a simple conversation. And if you lose a client because of this, guess what? Here's a secret. I don't care. I don't care. You cannot trip over pennies on your way to dollars. You cannot adjust your entire future for your company and your vision and your business model to accommodate the one squeaky wheel or the anomaly. If you're honest with people, then they're going to be understanding in most cases. Now, the problem in this comes when you don't train, lead, inspire, and cast vision to your employees, and then you transition out of the field. Because then when your employees show up to Mrs. Jones's house and she asked for you and you said, sorry, we're growing, I have to work more on the business. I'm doing higher level things now, but I assure you, the guys are going to take great care of you. If they don't take great care of her, that's a problem, because that means they're not taking great care of anybody else. So that's why these conversations are critical. Communication is everything. Remember this, all conflict is a result of unmet expectations. All conflict. I want you to think of your marriage, think of your parents, think of siblings, think of friends you've gotten in fights with, employees, bosses you had before you had your own company. It's all unmet expectations. And it's your job and your fault if there's a problem here. If your employees drop the ball, they don't do things the way that you thought they were going to, if they don't communicate properly, if there's no systems or protocol, that's all your fault. And it's all fixable, and it's not going to be perfect, but you can do it. Okay, so this is the roadmap to getting out of the field. Now, once you're out of the field, this is what this is going to look like. You're still going to be in the field sometimes. You're still going to have a Friday where there's an emergency and someone doesn't show up. All of that is normal. It will happen. That's what I mean when I talk about it being messy. But your default is going to be sitting in the office, handling the phone calls, scheduling, getting referrals, getting your data cleaned up, and beginning to build simple systems. Along with that, you're going to have to probably make another hire or two. You're going to want to put together a basic training program. Doesn't have to take you a month. You can put together a minimally viable system for training in less than 1 day. That will be infinitely better than you just shooting from the hip, going on what's in your brain. Get it on paper. And this will be a different feeling for you doing this. You might feel weird. You might feel guilty. You might feel like, wow, I'm not working that hard. I feel bad. That's ridiculous. We have to change your mindset on that. You're creating more jobs. You're creating more opportunity. You're widening the foundation of that pyramid of your company, creating more space in the middle. Stay focused on it. But that is essentially my thoughts on how to go from stage 1 to stage 2, from being in the field to primarily being in the office. Building systems. As Michael Gerber says, working on your business instead of in your business. Now, in stage 1, 2, 3, and even 4, you're still wearing a lot of hats. It's still a little bit messy, but each time you pivot up a level, it gets less and less messy, and it gets more and more stable. And in closing, I was talking to my friend Mike this morning, and I made the comment to him that, the ironic thing is that running $1 million business in many ways is infinitely easier than running a $200,000 or $300,000 business. It's just true. Because it's messy, because you haven't done it yet, your confidence is still coming and going, and you have good days and bad days, it causes a lot of uncertainty, and it's a tough place to live in. And so the idea isn't to, eliminate all that pain. You need to go through it. We just don't want it to take a decade. And if you don't want it to take a decade, we want to get through those stages quickly, then you need to remember the very first point I made, which was be willing to live on a lot less money than maybe you're comfortable with today so that we can transverse through these stages of growth quickly and get you on the other side. Because I'll tell you, it's worth it. It's worth it for your family. It's worth it for your employees. It's worth it for everybody. Can you offer full benefits to your staff? Probably not. Guess who can? Companies that do it $1 or $2 million a year. Can you take a vacation for a month? Probably not. Guess who can? Companies that do 7 figures a year. That's how they do this. They have middle managers, they have systems and protocols, and it's your job to begin the process. Don't get stuck in the truck. Don't let your business hinge on you not stubbing your toe or falling off a ladder so it can evaporate and vanish before your eyes. Let's get this done. Create the momentum, create the runway, work from 4:30 in the morning till midnight for a while if you need to. Communicate vision to yourself, then communicate vision for the company to your staff, include what's in it for them. And then we're going to pivot out. You're going to deal with customers who are upset one by one by telling them the truth, by telling them, hey, it's been my dream to build a family company and we're doing it. And I can promise you that Bill and Steve have been brought into the loop. They know that they are responsible to be a miniature me, and they're going to do everything they can to serve you. And then you just move through the process. Reinvest as much as your time as you can into growing more sales and building simple systems to kind of stabilize those people that are working in the field. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully it wasn't too complex. I know I talked quickly. I think I'm going to do some more of these podcasts too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about going from stage 2 of primarily being in the office to stage 3 where you're primarily selling. And then I'll talk from 3 to 4 and from 4 to 5. So give me some feedback on this, guys, if you like it. These are a lot of work to put together. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun for me, but it really helps when I get iTunes reviews and I get to read the comments of the people that we're helping and affecting. And it really, really, really helps when I know that people are sharing it. I know it's a pain in the butt to do this stuff. I listen to podcasts that I don't review or I don't share, and I still love the podcast. But just think of it as your itty-bitty fee to participate in this great value that really helps me out. We need to grow the user base. We need to help more people. Thank you, guys. God bless, and we'll talk to you later. Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.